What if success came at a cost of who you are? Would you take the money or would you walk away?
Top 5 banks reached out to me and was like, hey man, my company would actually love to host your next event. Like, you wouldn't have to pay a dime. Here's the only thing. You can't say it's for Christian entrepreneurs and you can't really talk about Jesus when you're there. I had a moment at a very small window of time where I'm like, well, it's free. It's a big brand.
But
exactly. Have you defined your lines?
too many entrepreneurs are watering down their voice just to fit in. But what if the very thing you're afraid to say is the actual thing that will set you apart?
A man that still coaches me to this day, used to be the vice president of HP Computers, ran a $10 billion division, and just got to be surrounded by these incredible business owners, people crushing it in the marketplace. A lot of the inspiration from doing business God's way was I saw it.
Your brand is more than just your business. It's your identity. And when you own that, the right people will find you because this is branded like a pro. Hey guys, what's going on? I'm your host, Denis, and you know that on this channel, we help personal brands and business brands monetize through their content. But not do we only do that, we also have conversations with some of these industry experts who are doing amazing things when it comes to branding. And we just want to sit down and just get the insights of it all. And today I have an amazing guest, that being Mukwenda Kandole, who's also the host of the FaitHustle Podcast. My brother, how are you doing today?
I'm great. I'm in the studio.
Come on.
The Branded Like a Pro studio.
Welcome, man. I think, it's just one of those things that the team and I have been talking about, having you come through, sit down, having this conversation to just kind of get the insights on, what business is like when you know your identity, when you know the culture that you're creating. Also, how are you visible in the marketplace, and how can you make your voice known and heard? And you were like, oh, we have to get Mukwenda in here. That's what he talks about every day.
Yeah.
Whether it's you doing a solo episode or just you as an entrepreneur or your guest. So thank you so much for just being here.
Man, I'm beyond humbled and honored. I love what y'all are doing. I feel like we're running in tandem, and just, we've become family and just, y'all are just next level.
Yes.
And so I'm just glad to be here to see the setup and get into this conversation, man.
We're locked in. We're locked in.
Yes, sir.
Well, let's get to it. I think that our viewers are probably wondering, like, okay, what they're going to talk, what they going to talk about today. Yeah. So you talk about pretty much doing business God's way.
Yes, sir.
Where did that come from? When did that thought start for you?
Yeah, so one, it started, I'm a pastor's kid.
Yeah.
So I didn't grow up doing business. I had business dreams and aspirations, but I grew up doing missions. I was a missions kid, so went to almost 20 countries doing missions trips.
Wow.
And would travel with my parents and did a lot of trips by myself. And so I was always moved by helping people. That was always my thing. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until I got into 18, I started getting into advertising and marketing and started to realize, honestly, a lot of the same storytelling skills that you need to do, let's just say, to raise funds for missions or for ministry objectives. It's the same principles needed for marketing and advertising and, persuasion, all those different things. And I was like, oh man, this naturally fits me. Yeah. So I kind of got into it in that sense. And I didn't know what I was doing, so I just started asking people questions. So the church I was at in Michigan, it was full of entrepreneurs that were incredible business people, but also, they were loyal to their spouses and families, and they, loved the Lord, and they were crushing it in business. So I would constantly be like sitting down, asking them questions.
Yeah.
Can I get a coffee? Can I get 15 minutes of your time? And honestly, even what I'm doing in the podcast, I've been doing for the past 10 plus years.
Yeah.
I'm just acquiring information. And I got an internship with a large ad agency, was doing work with Chick-fil-A and a bunch of different brands, and had an incredible experience. Got laid off. My whole department got laid off, and that's how I started my business. And I just started doing client work, and honestly still had no idea what I was doing, just trying to figure it out. But I was actually part of a men's kind of small group. Mm-hmm. And in that small group, I realized how much limitations I had when it came to money, when it came to business. I felt with my church background, and this is not everyone's story, but my church background, I had a weird relationship with money. I had a weird relationship with growth. And we read a book called Multiply by John Bevere, and it just shifted my life.
Yeah.
Where I realized that multiplying is actually biblical.
Yeah.
It's actually what we're commanded to do with anything you're given to be a good steward of, like the parable of the talents. And so that just shifted the game for me. And I was around these entrepreneurs, and they really got close with me. Like one of a man that still coaches me to this day. He used to be the vice president of HP Computers and ran a $10 billion division. And his son, who actually also had discipled me for years, I mean, he's high up at AWS with Amazon. Like, just got to be surrounded by these incredible business owners and people crushing it in the marketplace. And so honestly, a lot of the inspiration from doing business God's way was I saw it.
Yeah.
I saw it. And it's not just a methodology, it's a character and heart posture. So what I would see, we had a guy, true story, he was in our kids ministry. He was running our new members class.
Yeah.
He was teaching Bible studies, but he also was a partner in a $20 billion firm. You would never know.
Wow.
He carried himself with that much humility. And to be honest with you, growing up, I saw a lot of business owners that I was like, once they made it, I didn't like them anymore.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, they just became arrogant and just had a bad spirit in how they treated people. It was just, I was like, if that's what that is, I don't want it.
Yeah.
But thankfully, I got around a group where I could see, it's possible. It's possible to be successful. It's possible to be doing big things and to have a posture of humility and to have integrity and to keep your word and to be a family man and to be all these different things, right? Yeah. To put God first. And so, I mean, that's not a short answer, but that's the origins of that.
But this is good though, because what I'm hearing is that you, of course, had a foundation first, right? So being around the world and doing the work that, your dad was doing, or the church that you were involved with, the community. So it gave you a great foundation. And now you're seeing success in those spaces as well, which a lot of times isn't the case, right?
Right.
You get into these like organizations and it's like they always need money.
Oh my God. Right? Yeah.
They always need support. They always need resources to be able to go out there and spread the word or, expand the kingdom or whatever the case may be. But you saw actually like, hold on, you're serving, but yet you're really successful in the world, like helping businesses pretty much expand what, their branding, their message, their voice and all of that. And then you created a space for other people that think like that as well. Yeah. But let me ask you this. How have you been able within that space to attract people who do business God's way and just ambitious entrepreneurs?
Yeah. To be honest with you, it's funny. I don't know.
Got you.
It has been God. I'm not even going to pretend or cap it's the strategy of 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
All I know is this. I think God's given me a gift of relationships. If anything, I've learned some people have the gift to teach.
Yeah.
Some people have the gift to coach. Some people have the gift to, I've always been a relational guy. For whatever reason, God has always surrounded me with high influential people. I don't know why.
Yeah.
It's just been a grace that's been on my life where I don't have to turn it on. It just is that way.
Yeah.
And so I'm grateful for that and I recognize that. But I think also too, because, in the beginnings of my podcast, no one knew who I was. No one knew what we were doing.
Yeah.
I think people connect to a very clear mission. I had a mentor who used to tell me that clarity breeds momentum.
That's good.
That people love clarity. And if you're starting something new, the best thing you can do is be clear.
Yeah.
Because it's nothing worse than someone starting a new brand and you're trying to figure out what is this? Where is this going?
Yeah.
And so I worked before I started the podcast. The first thing I did before I planned out any episodes, invited any guests, I developed my elevator pitch for months.
Yeah.
Like I could tell you right now verbatim, Faith Hustle, we help young Christian entrepreneurs learn how to build their business and career God's way.
Come on.
And it's like, oh, okay. Like, I know where you're going. I'm not confused. And it's a entrance or an exit.
Yeah.
It's either for you or it's not. And that's okay. And for those that it resonates, it's an automatic, man, I love your mission.
Yeah.
I love where you're going. And then I can get into it and explain it more. But people love clarity. And so honestly, I think that has helped me gainer people to be on the show, like the CEO of Blue Ball Ice Cream. They do $600 million in sales every year.
Yeah.
And the producer of the Chosen series, which is like the #1 crowdfunded TV series of all time, and all these different things. I think it was just clarity. I think it was just like, hey, like, I love what you're doing. The intention and purity is there. Like, it's not, I'm not trying to get something from people. Like, we're trying to give something to people. And I think people can attach themselves to pure intentions and clarity.
So what you just said is something that I believe comes hard to a lot of entrepreneurs who are trying to build a brand, right? Which is the identity part, the voice, the culture, the things that make you stand out and bring clarity for people to buy into the mission, as you mentioned. I say that to say that it's really important. And I think that a lot of entrepreneurs just skip over that. They're like, hey, I just need a logo to put on my Instagram, to put on my Facebook, to put on this, to put on that. And I'm just going to just do whatever, start talking to people and charging people. That really jades people when it comes to entrepreneurship.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Because it's like, hey, without the branding, you don't even have a clear message.
Right. Well, I mean, branding, the best definition I got from branding from Donald Miller, which I think he's one of the wisest people when it comes to branding. And he talked about good branding teaches people how to talk about you.
Oh, that's good.
So
that's a bar.
Because I remember even when I first started my business, I realized, I don't have clear branding, because people kept saying, oh man, how's that photography business going? I'm like, brother, I haven't done photography in like 8 years. But that's not their fault.
Yeah.
That's my fault.
Yeah.
I, through whatever my communication branding, that's what they got. So now, I mean, I literally had to, like, even just practically, my Instagram, I cleaned everything out.
Yeah.
Like, all my old stuff, like, archived. Like, and I started from scratch.
Yeah.
Because I was like, by human nature, we only associate people from what we see.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, it's funny. People now ask me, so this podcast, you do it full time, right? I'm like, nope. Actually cost me money. It's like it's getting there.
Yeah.
But no, this is not full time. Yeah. And it's like, but that's what they see.
Yeah.
But that was my goal.
That's right.
I wanted people to associate, when they think of Mukwenda, they think of the podcast, they think of Faith Hustle.
Yes.
That's what I wanted to associate. Because in the beginning, it was a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And honestly, I can't take credit for it. It was the Lord. He told me back in August of 2024, he was like, stop advertising your main business, which is I have a video content agency, right?
Man.
I do brand work, TV commercials, you name it, right? Courses, masterclasses, and been doing that for 8 years.
Yeah.
And felt the Holy Spirit say, don't advertise, don't post nothing. Wow. And it's what ended up happening was, and I didn't realize it, overnight, it shifted how people viewed me.
Wow. And
so when they're thinking of opportunities or when they're thinking of different things, again, our brains, it's working off a calorie deficit. So it's we don't try to use that much brain power. Yeah. So we only use what we associate. That's why even like in politics, like those yard signs, all that different stuff, the reason why it's important is because when someone's going to the polls, they're just going to remember the last sign they saw.
Exactly.
And they're not thinking about your position. I was like, I just remember his sign. I'll write his name down. You know what I mean? Like, unfortunately, that's just how we work as a people. And so, again, I think for me, it was, I had to reestablish how I wanted people to talk about me. Yeah. And I think that's what good branding does. Yeah. No, for sure. And one thing that you talk about too is like with what people are saying, I think is a lot of it has to do with the culture that you bring as well, right? So let's talk about, the culture
that you bring to Faith Hustle and how it has helped you build community. And the reason why I want you to talk about that is because there are people who may not yet even know their walk in faith or fully know what faith is or the part that it plays in their life. How have you been able to just place that culture into Faith Hustle and, you know, build a community around it?
To me, I think culture is clearly defined.
Yeah.
Rarely do I see cultures made that happen on accident. And the reality is, like, whether it's a business, a ministry, the culture is just the DNA of the leader.
That's right.
That's really what it is. That's what you're going to feel. You know, it's funny. I've done consulting. I've done 50K consulting deals with $100 million businesses and stuff. And it's funny, like, everyone puts on their websites their brand culture or this is what we believe in. This is our values.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's a vast difference of what you write down on paper or on a website or put in your office and what's felt. And what's felt is actually the DNA of the leader.
That's right.
And so it's like, you can do all that, but at the end of the day, the default's going to get back to the DNA of the leader. So for me, I had to, what's my DNA? My DNA is I'm a man of faith.
Yeah.
I love the Lord. I'm unashamed about it. I also love business, and I love talking to people about it and exploring and asking them questions and asking about their story and asking how they grew. I was already doing that.
Yeah.
So part of it was like, I am a believer in a target audience, right? I am a believer in you don't make a show or you don't make a brand for you. You make it for them. You make it for who you're trying to reach. But in the same breath, what they're going to feel is who you are.
That's right.
And so for me, I established the Faith Hustle brand around me.
Yeah.
So it's like, I am going to talk equally about the Bible as well as business because that's who I am.
Yeah.
I'm equally going to, it's not super serious. Like, that's why, like, none of my studio setups have been like corporate. Yeah. Because it's funny. I was actually viewing some potential new spaces for the pod, and the first place I went, my realtor took me to was like very corporate, very like just sterile,
cubicle.
Yeah,
type
exactly.
Vibes. Yeah.
And I was like, this ain't it. This ain't it.
Yeah.
Because that's not who I am.
That's right.
I don't wear suits on the podcast. I don't wear button ups. Like, and again, that could be for some people. Maybe they're more finance driven or whatever, or they doing VC or tech, whatever. Yeah. That's not who I am. And so I think I had to well, if we want to get into scripture talks about that your gift will make room for you.
That's right.
And put you in the presence of kings. Yeah. The key word is your gift, not anybody else's gift. Yeah. Not someone. And what I learned for myself, I did not value the gift God gave me, and I just wanted other people's gifts because I'm like, oh man, that seems way more lucrative. That seems way more impactful from what I see. But it's like the reason why it is because they embrace their gift. Yeah. So again, I had to realize I'm not a teacher. So I'm not a webinar guy. Yeah. I'm really not a course guy. Yeah. I'm a community guy. I'm a relationship guy, and I'm an encourager. That's who I am. And when you rip me open,
that's what you're going to get.
That's what you're going to get.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, let me build a business plan and let me build a brand around my actual DNA. That's right. Rather than what I think is going to work. And again, that's just the point how I've grown.
But you make a very great point though. And I think believers or not believers, right, is the point of, hey, if you know this is what you're good at, you know this, don't go try and do something just because somebody else is doing it and you see their quote unquote success, right? Because it's a detriment to whether you know it, your calling and purpose.
Yeah. And effectiveness.
Exactly.
Like genuinely, I think you will naturally flow and things will naturally work when you are fully doing what you're called to do and how you were made and formed. I think the challenge that I had where I was beating my head up against the wall is I'm doing stuff that I'm not gifted at. And to be fair, part of that's why the entrepreneurial spirit, you have to experiment.
Yeah.
I had to try webinars to realize I'm not good at it.
Yeah.
I had to try different stuff to realize I don't really like this. And then you find your lane of like, oh, this is what I like.
Yeah. But also too, within that too, I think that there is something that's very powerful, is just the power of also seeing the gifts in other people.
Right.
Right. The people around you. I truly believe that God surrounds you with people who are great at things that you're not good at.
Yes.
And then with what you're saying, being able to be relational, build relationships, how to talk to people, be an encouragement to people. It's easier for someone to be like, hey, actually, let me help you. Let's work together.
Yeah.
Or I see that your gift could maybe be placed in front of these people in this position for you to be able to expand on what you're doing or reach more people. And I think that sometimes entrepreneurs, we can be a little skeptical sometimes when it comes to relationships, because we hear these crazy stories and different things. But I think if we have good intentions, good people surround us to be able to do things bigger than ourselves.
Absolutely.
Another point that I want for us to talk about is something that you said. And when I heard you, I was like, it sounds like it must have been easy for him. But there are other people who are struggling with this, is the separation between faith and business. Have you ever struggled with that? And if not, if somebody is struggling with, hey, like understanding that there's no difference, what would you say to them?
That's good. It's funny. A friend of mine, he just explained this to me, and I never knew this. So the Hebrew word for worship and work is only separated by one letter.
Wow.
So it's so closely connected to your work and worship. And again, if we go back to the garden, like the fall happened after God gave man work. So it's not tainted. Like our work is worship unto the Lord. Like Paul talks about it. Do whatever you do, do it unto the glory of God. Because I do believe that actually is our worship.
Yeah.
It's when I'm worshiping when I'm at church and we're singing praise and worship, and I'm also worshiping when I'm doing my podcast. I'm worshiping when I'm doing that edit for a client. Like it's all to bring glory to God. That's what I believe.
Yeah.
And so for me, in the same way that I don't believe in business ethics, I genuinely don't believe in it, because like I'll say this. I don't think you can hide for only so long who you actually are. And I don't mean that you evangelize every day in your cubicle. You know what I mean? Like I'm not saying.
Why are you? Hey, I'm on my lunch break, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just trying to eat the sandwich.
Exactly. It's like if you were to die today, where will you go? No, it's not, I'm not saying put fish stickers everywhere. But what I am saying is that why I don't believe in business ethics. You either have it or you don't.
Yeah.
That separation is like no, you either have integrity or you don't. And honestly, to me, what it means to have a faith business, it's not just in what I say verbally.
Yeah.
It's how I do my work.
Yeah.
I actually just made a video and I put on my Instagram of that things that I wish I knew when I started my business, that it's not a sin to charge what you're worth. And part of it, I had this bad theology, this bad mindset around money, that my witness or me being a good Christian was related to how much I charged. That if I charged a lot, quote unquote a lot to who?
Yeah.
Maybe to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Facts.
But like if I charged a lot, then I wasn't being Christ-like. And it's like, no, it has nothing to do with that.
That's crazy.
But honestly, people experience Christ more from my character, from doing what I say I'm going to do, from going above and beyond my excellence, right? Like you see that in the story of like Daniel and the Hebrew boys, like they were like, it literally says they were 10 times better than the other boys that were not fearing God. Like in every way, they were excellent. They were of high stature, of character, of everything. Like to me, that's actually being a person in both faith and business and your work. It's like people experience Christ through, like, so much so that it's like, oh, God must be on this. I just had a guy on my show, and he owns 9 restaurants, has like 750 employees, something like that crazy, just like millions and millions of dollars, has like almost 30 acres of property, just crushing it with his own brand. And I told him on the episode, I even though I didn't know you were a Christian, I had a feeling. I just knew this service felt different. The branding felt different. The intention, it just felt different. That's right. Where I'm like, the touch of God got to be on this. Yeah. And that's what I mean. It's like, you don't have to like blatantly wear like, you know, are you going to heaven or hell shirt everywhere you go. It's like, if you're Christian, you get a discount. Yeah. If you ain't, full price. Like, exactly. It's like, no, it's like, no, just in what you do, it is so evident that God is with you. That's right. Yeah. Now you make great points, and it brings another question up for me. Right? Because I guess for me, I mean, I'm a believer. I have friends who aren't. You know, I have friends who believe in or in other faiths. Yeah, same. And I think, like, how do we create a space where everybody feels welcome, though, right? Because I think a lot of times, and not us, I think us, we're relational. We talk to people, we love on people and everything, but there are some entrepreneurs there that are so gung-ho with the faith and everything, which is not a bad thing. Hey, walk how you're supposed to walk in your calling. But then it could be one of those things where they almost disqualify someone who may not be there yet. Right? Or then you have the other side where there's businesses who are like, look, if you're talking anything about God, I don't want to have anything to do with you. What do you think about those balances? And this from your personal, you know, point of view, obviously, and not like generalizing. But what do you think? I'll say this to your point of not generalizing. I think everyone, like, I have a good friend, has an international company, does safety work for huge, like, robotic plants, like crushing it. And he does a lot of work in Asia. And so he has to be more covert. And now he's a strong believer. He was an elder in the church. Like, he's not ashamed. He just has to be more covert in how he displays the gospel, the kingdom of God, right? And I think that's brilliant. I think everyone has their different calling assignment of how they do it. I'd say this. I think, you know, I think of Solomon. You know, he was probably the first coach that we would know of in Scripture. People would literally come to him and bring him gifts for him to advise them. Like kings would come, like, listen, like, teach me what you know. Share the wisdom. And I think as Christians, and again, I know this is more tailored to people of faith, but I think anybody can learn from this. But I think Christians, we think our export is faith and Bible. But I think our actual export is wisdom, because people, they might not want anything to do with our faith, and that's fine. But the beauty of us following Jesus and following God's word, it's full of practical wisdom. Just how to live life, how to be a good dad, how to be a good husband, how to, you know, treat your neighbor. It's full of wisdom. So I think for me, it's like, whatever you're doing, that's why I say, like, how you operate your business. Like, there's a reason why, like, John Maxwell, I remember I went to an event of his, he's like, because he used to be a pastor. And now he's like a foremost, like, leadership expert. And he's like, man, the business field is like the greatest evangelism field, because people are hungry for wisdom. They get the wisdom, and then you tell them, hey, actually, I'll tell you where, I'll cite my source. You know what I mean? Like, you know, and there's so many opportunities that people get to experience with God simply because everybody craves wisdom. Like, there's a reason why self-help books make billions and billions every year. People want to know how to be more productive, how to be better business owners, how to
How to have a better balance, life
exactly,
and
health,
business and
all these different
that.
things.
Yeah.
And the Bible touches all of that. It touches on finances. It touches on family. It touches on. It's funny, like how to win friends, influence people. You can just read the Bible and you be good.
That is a fact.
You be chilling. Like
That's a fact.
Jesus, probably half of his time, he taught them how to engage with other people. And again, I think if we realize the actual export we have, that is actually wisdom, and that everyone needs it, no matter what faith you are, that can invite people into a conversation that could change their life. But, again, some, I feel like they probably will feel more called to be more covert, and then some are going to be a little bit more loud. Like Chick-fil-A, like they're unashamedly Christian.
Yeah.
But you know what?
Close
that chicken
on
is
Sundays.
good. Close on Sunday, but that chicken is good. You know, and like even if you ain't saved, the chicken's fire. I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, again, that's why I say, like, in our work.
Yeah.
And it's the worst thing to me is someone to say, "Oh, I'm a Christian business owner, or I got a faith-based business," and your business sucks.
Jeez.
Like your product sucks. I'd rather you not say that you on my team. Don't say you on my team and you repping us and your stuff ain't right. It's like, no, like if it's for me, because I think a lot of times in Christian church culture, we give ourselves grace, and it's like, well, I'm a Christian business owner. It's like, no. If anything, it should be even more. It should be the best.
To operate
if
in
you're
excellence.
putting God's stamp on it, it better be the best.
Yeah.
It better not be anything poorly done. Your customer service better be through the roof. Like, no, like,
because now you're representing a whole different type of brand. We're talking about a strong one.
A strong brand. It's been going since the beginning of time.
Exactly. Exactly. And so here's the thing too that I want to ask. What do you think is missing in the faith-based industry? Because like we talked about, like operating in excellence, doing great things. But then of course there is that part where people are like, I'm cool. What do you think, from what you've seen and your experience, what do you think is missing in the faith-based industry? What are some of these faith-based brands missing?
That's a good question. I think from my perspective, I think it's two things. I think one is the actual knowledge of how to operate a business and acquiring great skills. Because again, there's extremes in every space, right? In the faith space, there are extremes. And I have seen an extreme where it's like, oh, I'm trusting in God and I don't need to do anything. He's going to take care of it. And it's like, no. God is not going to take care of you getting an email. No, not at all. He's not going to send the email
right
for you. He's not going to go knock on that door. He's not going to the client meeting and doing the pitch. You got to do that, bro. Like, it's like, no, like you have to be excellent, right? Yeah. Like I again, sorry, I have all these Bible references, but
it's all good.
I share it a lot. Good. But like David, right before he became king, he is incredible, excellent musician. Yeah. And King Saul, who was king at that time, he had dealt with torments in his mind, right? And so he asked his servants, find someone who is skilled in the lyre. I think that's what it was, like or the harp. Find someone who's skilled in the harp. David gets picked. He comes in. He plays. He's also anointed. Yeah. So when he plays, the Spirit leaves. But here's the thing: if he was not excellent, he would have never been welcomed.
That's good.
And I think we rely on our anointing, or oh man, God's favor, His hand is on me. Yeah. But we don't acquire skills. And it's like, no, excellence opens the door for people to experience God. But if you don't have skills, like you need to spend the money to learn how to do design or how to do video or how to do finance or whatever your thing is. You need to get a mentor, get a coach. You need to take that course. Like that is part of that work of worship. Work is worship. Yeah. That's part of it. Like you should be. So that's what I've seen where it's like, we're asking God, why is this why is this not opening? Why is it not? Like, you're just not good. It's like, I'm sorry to tell you, you're just not good.
It's not good.
You need to get better, and that's okay. Like,
Man.
just be honest. It's just like, no, you're not skilled yet.
Yeah.
Like, get good. And that's what's actually going to, like, before I started my podcast, I had been running my own production company for 7 years.
Yeah.
Like, I 1,000% know half of those people that I've had on my podcast that are high level entrepreneurs, high level, they would not come if it was not excellent.
That's right.
They would not come.
Yeah.
Why would they waste their time? If I had a little iPhone, no lighting, had no mics, they're not coming.
They're like, what did I just get invited to?
Most people think, man, I thought you would have had 500,000 subscribers by now, by the excellence that you have. Same thing with Brandon Like a Pro. It's like, I'm not going to do like the bare minimum when I know I can do more.
That's right.
And it's like, excellence is, I know for a fact, excellence has opened the door to so many people.
Without a doubt.
And so I think that's one. And then the second thing on the other extreme is, I think, just purity of heart. I'd love to see more in our faith-based businesses. I think if we're not careful, being a faith-based business owner can become marketing, or it can become just a trend. And I've seen that a lot, especially being here in Texas.
I have too.
Christianity sometimes is so much cultural.
Yeah.
And so when it's not legit, when you're like, again, it's really hard to claim Christianity and you're like, not like in business deals, you're just sneaky or you're lying or you're doing like, and I've seen this stuff.
Yeah.
Like I've met people, shook hands with people where they're like, yeah, I'm a believer, I'm a business owner. And then they go ahead and steal $250,000 from their business partner. Like I know these people.
Yeah.
And they talked a good talk. Yeah. And it's like, man, you might as well just not said that you were at all.
What you're saying is too is like, people think that saying that you're a faith-based entrepreneur business brand is almost like a badge of trust.
Right.
And it's not.
It's like veterans. It's like hey, like I'm a veteran-owned business, right? Yeah. It has a perk.
Yeah.
And so now it's almost like this badge. I'm a Christian. Yeah. Like black-owned. I'm a women-owned. I'm a Christian. Yeah. No, it's like, it's not marketing.
You still got to build trust.
Yeah.
You still have to build trust.
And it's through the quickest way to build trust is by doing what you said you were going to do. Yeah. Your character, your word, your integrity, your honesty, your humility. Right. That's why I have 5 pillars for the podcast. Yeah. It's stewardship, it's humility, integrity, generosity, and I'm forgetting the last one. I think I said stewardship
and being
spirit-led. Being spirit-led. Yeah.
There we go.
But to me, it's like those things actually matters.
Yes.
And if we're gonna represent Christ, it's like we got to be skilled.
Yeah.
And we have to actually have the heart that's right and that's pure. And I've seen a lot of times where, again, I think a lot of people where I've been shocked. I'm like, you call yourself a Christian business owner? Oof, man, the way you talk to your employees,
bro,
the way
I think
the way you skip people out and how you pay them, like not paying them one time, like I'm all of it matters, and I've seen it, bro.
I agree 1,000%. I think the heart towards the people is the thing that gets me the most. It's like you can't say, and look, I know we're not perfect. Everybody has bad days or bad, whatever.
Of course.
But for you to be able to taking it out on someone who's actually there to help or a potential client, it's crazy to me. Yeah.
And that's why like FaitHustle, how I spelt FaitHustle, and everyone kind of like, and I after some years, people will get it right. But the spelling, I have it as one word, not two. And I have it as one H, not 2 H's. Yeah. Because I'm trying to make a point. You can't separate it.
That's so good, though.
You can't. So it's like, I can't, again, say with my mouth that I believe in God, and my business practices don't line up with that. Yeah. And, I can't say I believe. No, it doesn't mean you're a pushover. It doesn't mean that you're not aggressive. It doesn't mean that you're not ambitious. It doesn't mean that you're not like, no. That has nothing to do with it. Yeah. But how you treat your assistant, how you talk to, how you keep your word. The agency I worked for, again, so thankful to God. He's still a mentor to this day. Dan Cobb, shout out to him. I mean, he has like he's been running a $20-30 million agency, doing work with Papa John's and all these huge brands. And on his website, and they make it clear to every client, they say, we will never lie to or lie for a client. Like they have certain standards of, like, we will only work with family brands, brands that support the family. Wow. So they've never done an alcohol brand. Yeah. They've never done brands that would break up the family or be negative to the community. Like they just don't do it.
That's so good, because I wanted to talk about that too, right? Because it made me think about two things as you're talking. Is like, I wonder if anybody has tried to pull Mukwenda from, hey, you're really good at what you do. You should maybe water down the Christian message a bit. Has anybody ever tried to kind of like get you to, you know what I mean? Or try to get you to, pretty much kind of go against your values that you set already? Well,
not directly, but there was one thing that just happened. I just did my first Faith Hustle night. Y'all were there. Yeah, y'all were sponsors. Success. Yeah, Brandon, like, we're doing it again. Danielle's going to be speaking at it. It's going to be amazing. Freddie's helping out. It's going to be dope. And so we did one in February 7th. Yeah. And it was great. It was packed house. Yeah. We oversold it. And it was incredible. Great time. Best night of my life. And I'm still getting testimonies from people. They're connecting. Business deals are happening. Yeah. Like, it's just been really cool to see. And it got the attention of a lot of people. Yeah. And so I won't say the name of the brand, of course. But it was a very large bank. Like, think like top 5 banks that you would think of.
Yeah, I remember when you talked about this. Yeah.
And their head of experience marketing, I believe, who's a great guy. We've become friends. Reached out to me, was like, hey, man, my company would actually love to host your next event. So, like, you wouldn't have to pay a dime. Yeah. And when you're starting something bootstrapping, come on, man, someone offering as a sponsor to take, oh man, sign me up. Yeah,
we're there.
Yeah, exactly. And especially, like, this is a notable brand. Like, you've seen them in Super Bowl commercials. You've seen, like,
they're big time.
Big time. Yeah. Right. And I'm like, man, what an opportunity. And I mean, I'm a young brand. Okay. Yeah. And so I get on a call, and he's like, man, love what you're doing, all this different stuff. Here's the only thing. You can't say it's for Christian entrepreneurs, and you can't really talk about Jesus when you're there. Now, this guy's saved, so he wasn't compromised. He was just saying, this is he's just representing the company. It's like, right. It wasn't him personally. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
no, for sure.
And I had a moment at a very small window of time where I'm like, well, it's free. It's a big brand, before I say what I said, what helped me in that moment, one of the pastors at the church that I go to, shout out to Shoreline City, he sat down with me, and he's seeing the brand take off and grow, and he was like, Mukwenda, God's going to really bless your brand. I can just see it. Yeah. And he said, have you written down how he said it? Have you defined your lines? I was like, no, I don't know what that means. He said, have you written down what you will and won't do for money? So I wrote down like 10 commandments for myself. Yeah. And one of them was I would never compromise on the gospel. I would never compromise on my faith, no matter how much money I'm given. Yeah. And part of also the branding of Faith Hustle, it kind of would go opposite. It's like, it'd be weird, it'd just be hustle. Yeah. It wouldn't be faith, And so I said, man, I am so grateful for this opportunity. Man, it means the world that y'all reached out. I'm going to have to unfortunately decline. Wow.
And most people probably think like, oh, he's crazy.
I thought I was crazy. But I was like, no, like I that would be, because building a brand, and why most people can't build good brands, because people they don't want to wait. Yeah. Like, it takes time, but it's built on something like that. Yeah. Like, that would tarnish my brand.
It would.
Had I said yes to this opportunity, I would think make me credible, but it's actually against my word.
That's right.
Like, I've built a bond and a trust with my audience or my customers, like, of promises. That's so right. Every time I keep my promise, I build my brand. every time I do what I say I'm going to do, that's building my brand. And listen, Southwest Airlines is going through it right now.
Come on, man.
Because they thought their brand was, oh, we're nice to you. No. Mm-mm. Your brand is a promise that you gave.
You told us you ain't charging us for our bags. And now we gotta pick our seats. Come on.
No, they thought their brand, I think even what's happening in Southwest is a great case study of branding.
That's right.
That the core of branding, like, yes, it is how people feel and
Yeah, but it's
the core branding is a promise kept.
That's right.
It's you gave a promise, you kept it, and that's why Delta's brand's so strong.
And when you break it, like, your audience will have a field day.
Absolutely, and they are getting a field day right now.
It's like imagine like telling your kid that they can have ice cream every night after dinner, and then you're like, you can't have it anymore. Mm-hmm. I'm not gonna fault my kid for throwing a fit. No. I've literally groomed and accustomed my kid to have ice cream every night.
Exactly.
And now I'm taking it away?
Yeah.
But crazy.
And so, back to the space. I had a moment I said, this actually would not help my brand.
It wouldn't.
It would hurt it.
Yeah.
And I might not feel it now, but a compromise here, a compromise there. Yeah. Now you got a loose brand that's like, I don't even know if I can have faith in this anymore. And so I think, that was my moment for me. And I think what I learned from that was, do I want to be in this for the long haul? Yeah. I had to make a choice. And it's hard because there's hard decisions that come from that. But and again, I think even why people rock with the brand is that, like, conviction. Yeah. I believe this. Like, I live this. It's a burden that I have. It's a calling that I have. And so people relate to it because it's like, I'm practicing what I'm preaching, right? I'm living this out. That's actually part of your brand, is how you live your life.
Very true. It's
really hard for people to believe what you're selling. If you like, I've seen some fitness people. I'm like, brother, you are not in shape. It's like, I don't believe this brand. You don't. Yeah. You're not like.
It's either that, or you're not showing us the process of you heading to getting in shape.
Something, right? Like you ate at McDonald's yesterday. What you trying to teach me on a reel how to eat? No. Like I'm not. I
can't trust you.
I'm not believing that. Or like someone like they're trying to teach you in your finances or something like that. And like, that they financed their vacation last year. It's like 2 and 2 don't go together. That is part of your brand. It's the promises you keep and the life you live. Yeah. And that's why I said, like, in the beginning, that like culture is really, it's not what you put on a paper, it's the DNA of the leader. Yeah. And so you have to make a decision. What is that brand I want to keep? That's right. And now, honestly, I think that's the harder work. That's the harder work than the logo. Yeah. That's the harder work than the logo, a color scheme.
The logo is just fun. Like that's just the fun work.
And right? It matters. It's gotta look good. It definitely does. 1,000%.
I find more fun, especially working with clients, sitting down, doing a roadmap, breaking down their values, your brand story, the brand promise, the brand legacy. What does your voice sound like? What are your values? Because it's harder for you to go against that when you know who you are. Exactly. I've always looked at branding more of like, do you know who you are? Right. I literally was telling Freddie and Danielle that I started to look at business a little different now because understanding branding, because I'm a branding nerd, is this. There is no competition in the marketplace that we think, oh, whose product is better? I don't think that that's the competition that people should pay attention to if you want to have a business that's going to last long. The competition is who is the best at knowing who they are. Yeah. When you know who you are and what you offer, and you know that the best, nobody can even move you. Nobody can knock you off your square, whatever you want to call it. It will be really tough for someone to come. You won't even budge if somebody tries to imitate you. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I just think that once as business owners, entrepreneurs, or whatever, once we start focusing in on that, I think that there will be more better business practices in the marketplace.
I agree.
Better results, happier clients and returning clients.
Yeah.
And just wealth as well.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, not to put it back to Southwest, but to keep dogging them, but hey, they put themselves.
It is what it is.
They did it to themselves.
Where they are.
They did it to themselves. But to your point of not trying to be like other people, like obviously for financial reasons, that's why they made certain decisions. But if they really thought about it, it's like, again, what makes us us? Who are, like, for example, Chick-fil-A, and I got to work on the Chick-fil-A brand when I was at the agency. You've never seen them run a deal.
No.
You've never seen them advertise a discount.
No.
They'll advertise new products. They'll advertise seasonal things like their seasonal shakes, whatever like that. Never a deal, never 5 for $5, never $1. No, that they made a decision. This is who we are, and we're not changing.
That's right.
And they're a private company, and they're making more money than Burger King.
Yeah.
And it's like, and they make more per store. I think they make about $4.5 million.
Wow.
A store, like twice as much as McDonald's. I think genuinely because they realize this is who we are. We close on Sundays. Our hiring process is going to be very strict.
Yeah.
We're only going to hire the best and train up our people. We're going to love our people well. We're going to have a excellent service and cleanliness in our space. Our drive-thru is going to be excellent.
Yeah.
And because of all that, we're not going to give any deals or to give any discounts.
And
we're not even going to try to compete.
And the customers and audience respect that.
They respect it. Like, it's like, and again, with Southwest, I think a good learning lesson of like what they were hoping how to compete, their actual competitive advantage was actually just being true to who they were.
That's it.
It's like, no, this is the reason why we came.
Yeah.
And I think there can be a tone deafness when you don't have those blinders and you're looking here and here and you're like, man, what are they doing? What? And let's say in the content space, right?
Yeah.
Such and such channel is doing that. Maybe we should start doing that.
Yeah.
Such and such channel, they're doing
trend surfing.
Yeah, exactly. They're doing this. You know what? And again, like it's smart to evolve, of course.
Yeah.
But it's, again, you got to rip yourself open and be like, at the core of what I do, this is who I am.
That's it.
And just stick to it.
That's it.
And not like you're going to find your genius. You're going to find your flow in that.
Yeah.
Like even in the content space, I think of like Shannon Sharp. Like he is crushing it on all levels. And what I love about him is he's himself.
He is. He's not changing up.
He's not changing up. And he has this unbelievable way. I've seen the same guests he's interviewed on other shows, and they do not open up like they do. It's something when they sit in that
couch,
sofa,
that couch, man.
Secrets get revealed, dirty, like stuff gets revealed, like dirty laundry gets revealed. Like he has something.
Yeah.
He is so humble. He's so comfortable. He honors them well.
Yeah.
He provides he's not trying to be.
Yeah.
It's
funny because he's taken like the Wendy Williams kind of gossipy approach, but he's made it very like, hey, we're just sitting down having a drink, having a conversation.
There's no audience.
I'm getting to know you.
Yeah.
Like, let's just talk. Obviously, the stuff is already out there. Let's talk about it.
Right.
You know?
And he's not doing it with the audience so they feel comfortable.
Yeah.
You know, all these different things. He's willing to laugh at himself.
Yes.
So they can poke at him and they're okay. He's okay with that, you know?
That's a good thing, though. I think businesses should be better at laughing at themselves.
I agree.
You know, taking it to the chin, and it's okay.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we messed up. That's what I would say Southwest should do.
They should. They tried to. And then people in the comments, I don't know if you saw their recent post, they were like, at least we didn't trade Luka. They literally said that. I was like, bro, read the room. Read the room. The comment section was like, nah, this wasn't it.
That's crazy. That's crazy work right there. Wow, that's good.
Oh, my God.
That's good.
It was, I think they're like, oh, we'll be trendy. It's like, nah. Like Wendy's. Wendy's is funny. They'll make fun of people.
Yeah.
And like, they'll poke fun. Like,
Man, Wendy's been, on Twitter.
Oh, they're hilarious.
Wendy's been with the smoke. Absolutely. They want all the smoke.
They got black people up in there working for them.
Without
Absolutely.
a doubt.
Under the age of 30. Yeah. they know how to scrap. Yeah. No.
Man, let's talk about Faith Hustle Night. Because it's something that I know that you're really passionate about. Believe before it happened, I remember just myself, you, and my wife Danielle just being on phone calls and talking about just your desire to just build community and being able to just like be in a physical space and get in touch with people. I know you said like, man, it was the best night you ever had, but I want you to just kind of share a little bit, about the vision there as more people will be partaking in it. I know there's a lot of people in Dallas and Fort Worth are going to participate in it. So just share a little bit more about the vision.
Yeah, man. I think it, for me, again, I open myself up to like, what's my gift? Yeah. What do I bring? As well as like, what's the need?
Yes.
I think personally, in the entrepreneur space, especially Christian entrepreneur space, we are not education deficient. Like, we have a lot of information, a lot of informational products, courses, webinars, all the things. Some really good, a lot, you know. You know what I mean? Just like, okay,
that's real. That's
copies
real.
Of copies.
Yeah.
What it seemed like, and again, like, I would encourage anybody, do market research of the people who actually consume your brand. When I ask people like, what actually makes them excited about Faith Hustle, or what connects them, is like, man, like, it's these conversations that you have with these high level people, business owners who are strong believers, and the fact that there is a community of people who are like-minded and are thinking on the same wavelength.
Yeah.
And so I realized in that event, it was a confirmation for me that like people are desperate for community.
Yes.
And I think, especially where you can touch, where you can see, because I could have easily just did a virtual event.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm sure it'd have been fine. There's something different, man, when you rub shoulders. And I think honestly, and I know it's easy to say, oh man, the COVID times, but honestly, like,
but
I think
that's a factor though.
I know people who still have not fully bounced back to in-person community.
I agree.
In whatever facet that is. And the reality is like, we need it.
Yes.
And I realized, I think my main gift is to speak to not just the skill and the gift and the business of an entrepreneur, but to the soul of an entrepreneur. And I think at our core, we need people. We want to be connected with like-minded people, and we want to get wisdom.
Yeah. And
so that's what those nights are for. So we have people who are Christian entrepreneurs, and they know us from our brand. We don't play games. We about this life. Like,
that's right.
We're about excellence. So we try to make it as excellent as it can. We don't try to I bring some of the best sponsors, vendors out, you guys being one of them. Like, we go above and beyond. It's a live podcast panel. And we're bringing some of the best of the best.
That's right.
And like, this one's going to be same. We got Kendra Tall, your wife. We got my boy Tarek Ortiz. Like, we're talking about content creation. And I was like, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to bring people that actually know what they're talking about.
That's
Not just people who are like, it's like, no, they know what they're talking about. We're going to have a phenomenal conversation. People are going to learn.
Yes.
They're actually gonna, and it's not going to be like, oh, like, learn the rest behind this paywall. Like, no, we're going to give you the best of the best.
That's right.
And I just think authenticity and purity has just been missing.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people have gone to stuff hoping for a legitimate community, especially within a Christian sense, and have been jaded because there's been another ulterior motive.
Yes.
Where it's like, oh, like, you really didn't want to connect with me. You just wanted my money.
Yeah.
And again, there's nothing wrong with
getting paid,
all that different stuff.
The way you go about
but at a certain point, and again, for me, I'm thinking Faith Hustle for me is a 20-year brand.
Yes.
20, 25-year brand. I'm seeing the people who are in their early to mid-20s who are following this brand right now. Like, I just got a text from a kid who's 20 years old, business owner, loves the Lord, and he watches every episode faithfully.
Wow.
I'm like, if I can get this kid now to get in the community, to get this mindset when he's in his 40s and he's like wealthy and well off, man, he's gonna be such an impact in the kingdom. He's gonna be generous and all. Like that's the long game that I'm playing. And so these events are just facilitating that. And on a practical level, I literally had on my my mission statement for the event, I want to create FOMO. I was like, I want you to wish you were there. Yeah. And be like, man, why wasn't I there? Why didn't I cancel that thing and come? Yeah. I had so many people like, man, it looked packed. It looked.
It was packed.
It was. Sure. And their strategy behind that.
Line outside, everything. That was pretty cool.
None of that was on accident.
Yeah.
Like, it was all the hand of God, but I picked the size venue for a reason. Yeah. I knew it was going to be more. Yeah. But that's what I wanted. I wanted a line outside. I wanted the story.
That's right.
Man, I could barely get in.
Yeah.
That story is huge.
Yeah.
You know, and it rather than like it's a huge space, I'm like, oh no, I had plenty of space.
That's right.
it was a little quiet up in there. Yeah. No, like so like each space we're gonna go, we're gonna like this next space can definitely hold like, 200 to 300, but like it's gonna feel, you're gonna feel that bumping against one another. I like that. But it's because it feels like something's happening, because it is. And so and basically like it's a night for us to give back to entrepreneurs. So like we offer headshots, so people will be able to get headshots. Mm-hmm. They can update their LinkedIn or whatever they need to do, their website. Yeah. So make sure you look good.
Yeah,
we got a coffee company, Aurora Coffee. They're going to be a sponsor and having great artisan coffee and espressos and matcha, all that stuff. We got a DJ. We got a bunch of different stuff, and then we're going to be doing a live podcast panel, and then we'll have a little Q&A session at the end for people to ask their questions around content creation, and just an environment for people, again, just to connect, get outside your home office and just actually meet people face to face. And it's I'm inspired by events. Yeah. I'm inspired by conversations and in-person interactions, and so really, the goal is just to keep doing them as many as we can do. I'm having conversations with people about doing it in Austin, doing it in Atlanta, doing it so we'll just keep saying yes to the opportunities that come. But that's really the heart of it. Man,
that's great. And us here at Branded Like a Pro, we're always here to support and push you and what you got going on, just because we see like the impact. Mm-hmm. Also, you're our brother. We know your intentions. We love what you're doing, so you always got our support.
Man, thank you, man.
With that being said, Mukwenda, I thank you so much for your time. This conversation was amazing. What I've learned is that branding isn't just about looking good. It's about standing for something bigger than yourself. And a lot of times it takes that boldness, which when you find that boldness, you find the voice for your brand, which you've been doing for Faith Hustle. A lot of lessons learned, a lot of gems been left. I hope that our audience picks them all up. And anything that you would like to leave them with?
No, this is my favorite episode. Our favorite interview I've ever been a part of, man. No, I'm just grateful we get to run together and love what you guys are doing, how you're helping people, and let's just continue to run and support each other, man.
That's it. All right, guys. Well, I'm your host, Denis Boateng. This has been Branded Like a Pro. Thank you so much for your time. See you next episode.